this, quote, "I believe that every child, no matter the circumstances of their birth, has a right to be the best they can be in life, and they must be given an opportunity. I don't think that any child is a mistake. I don't believe that God made a mistake by bringing a child into this world." End of quote. Well, so says my host this week. Welcome to 60 Minutes with Angela. Well, hello there. Welcome again to the program. Thank you for joining me this week. Well, my host this week was born some 49 years ago. She hails from Delta State, that's in the south region of Nigeria. She attended the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, that's in the southeast region, graduating with a law degree. Now, I've come all the way to see her in her state today. She is the facilitator and executive director of Partnership Opportunities for Women Empowerment Realization, POWER. She's also the president of the Board of Governors, Surefoot American International School, that's in Calabar, the capital of Cross River State. She's the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Springs Paradise Abuja, and CEO of Value Mart Discount City. She's the initiator and facilitator of Mothers Against Child Abandonment, MACA, which oversees and houses 2 refuge homes in Calabar, the capital of Cross River State. Now, the first home for abandoned babies and teenage pregnant girls who are considered at risk. The second home, DCC, that's Destiny's Child Center, a resettlement home for rehabilitation and reintegration of street children. So join me after the break. I'm spending 60 minutes with Obioma Imoke. She's the wife of the Chief Executive and Governor of Cross River State in the south region of Nigeria. Welcome back. Welcome to you, Mrs. Imoke. Thank you for agreeing to spend 60 minutes with me. So, I've always been dying to ask you this. When your husband became governor, how did you decide on what projects you were going to pursue? Was it something you discussed with him, or you had a definite idea about where you were headed in Cross River State?
Thank you very much, Angela, for also having me.
Yes.
We kind of are people that plan things.
Okay.
And so when he came to Cross River State as governor, one of the things I promised myself was that I was just going to do everything to complement what he does in Cross River State.
Yes.
And so I took time out to talk with him and see where his priorities were and what he wanted to focus on.
Yes.
And even just from being married to him, I know that he's always had a thing for those who society would probably never really have as any association with, or people who would, the way we say it here, never experience government directly.
Yes.
Those are the kind of people that he wants to be able to reach out to. And so that informed my decision.
Yes.
Look for those who need government the most.
The most.
And that was the way I felt would complement what he was doing best.
Okay, and one of the things that has brought you to recognition is your work in the field of education, and the recognition that's come from the wife of the former British Prime Minister, Sarah Brown. For the sake of those who don't know, talk us through that. What's that deal all about?
Well, quite frankly, we sit down here in Cross River State, in the back of nowhere, really,
yes,
and we just do what we believe God has sent us here to do.
Yes. And
one of the first things that you should know about Cross River State is that education up to JS3 is free and compulsory.
And compulsory.
Yes.
So anyone up to that age who isn't in school,
it's illegal. And then again, because my office complements what my husband does,
yes,
it now became my responsibility to get the children into school. And the best way to do that is advocacy. Go out and tell the women. So even in working with women,
yes,
it comes up. You know, you have to, advise them, listen, your child needs to be in school.
Yes.
What you're doing is illegal, and if this is implemented, you're going to get into trouble about it.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that that we were focused on when we came here. If you also look at his 7-point agenda,
yes,
education is on it.
Okay.
It's one of his priority interventions in Cross River State. And so, again, in a bit to complement him, most of my, I had to have a huge advocacy program for education.
Yes.
And anywhere that I have an opportunity to get a child into school, I ensure that the child gets back to school because it's available anyway. So.
Okay, so it was that advocacy that caught Sarah Brown's attention.
I believe, yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so let's move to health. The Breath of Life program. You and pneumonia. I'm told that 20 children die from pneumonia every hour.
Yeah.
Is that in Nigeria or worldwide?
Well, it's a World Health Organization report.
Okay.
And that 20 children die from pneumonia.
Yes.
In fact, one of the things that caught my attention is that pneumonia kills more children than HIV, AIDS, and malaria put together.
But no one knows that.
Because I don't know why. I don't know why.
Is pneumonia something peculiar to people in Cross River State?
No. This is a World Health Organization report.
Okay.
It's one of the highest killers of children, or like we say, it's one of the highest causes of infant mortality. In the whole world, really.
Yes.
Especially in developing countries. We have seen this trend all over Nigeria and in Africa in general. But what I find funny about it is that pneumonia is preventable and it is curable. And yet, like the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. What you don't know,
yes,
how can you deal with it? There's simple steps to take.
So is the program accessible? The simple steps you talk about, how does the average Cross Riverian know what to do, where to go to access that?
Again, in Cross River State, the government has a free health care program for children 0 to 5 years,
okay,
and for pregnant women. Now, if the government has a free healthcare system for my business, again, is to complement what government does. So what do? I have to go out there and tell the women, listen, if you're pregnant, you don't need to pay any bills. If your children 0 to 5 years, government takes care of all the bills concerning those children.
Yes.
But one of the things that is important for the child, like we do, like we advocate, is that they are healthy. And one of the ways that you can get the child to be healthy is to make sure that they get their immunization when they should get them, as they grow. Now, in working with mothers and children, we realized that you couldn't really separate both, and that it was a holistic way of empowering the woman to make sure that not just the mother is healthy and is empowered physically, mentally, financially, but if the child was not empowered, our slogan is getting more, putting money into the hands of women. Now, in my opinion, if you have an unhealthy child, it's taking money.
It's a burden.
Away from exactly. So for us to be able to look at a holistic approach of putting more money, she can't be spending money on children in hospital all the time. And in the process of looking at immunizations and what is it that causes children to go to hospitals, it was a strange thing that happened to me, actually. Mine was a personal experience when it concerns the program Breath of Life. My daughter was sick in the home, and I noticed that she was just getting weaker and weaker, and I called the pediatrician. I said, oh, there's something going on with my child, she's just ill, and she's just deteriorating. And I said, okay, just bring her into the emergency room. And I did. And when I got to the emergency room, there were quite a number of children in the ward. And he took her, looked at her and said to me, she has pneumonia. I said, pneumonia? What's pneumonia? I thought pneumonia was for kids that were exposed to cold.
You sleep in air conditioning.
Outside. And, how does, my child get pneumonia? And he said, we'll talk about it, but I need to treat her real fast. And he did. And then in the process, I went round to look at to see the kids in the emergency room.
There.
Yes. And every single one of them on admission was there for pneumonia. And these were babies, again, 0 to maybe like 2 years.
Yes.
And the doctor said, yes, that's pneumonia, you know. And I said, okay, you need to talk to me about this because I don't understand. Anyway, we were there for 2 hours. And in that 2 hours, two of the children in the emergency room died.
From pneumonia.
So I knew that there was something not quite right. And then, you know, in the process of talking, it says, you know, madam, this thing is preventable, you know, and it's treatable. I said, what do you mean by it's preventable and it's treatable? I said, well, you don't have to. Your child doesn't have to have pneumonia if you know what to do. And it's a very simple thing, you know. So I decided to go and do a study on what this was all about. And it's just a simple, very simple steps you can take not for your child not to have pneumonia.
What are those steps?
1, eat the right foods. Lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, and make sure you introduce that into your child's diet. Make sure you have a room that is the good circulation in the room, well ventilated. You know, keep windows open as much as possible. In Cross River State, our rollback malaria program is really good. So most homes where they have children 0 to 5 years, they have these mosquito-treated nets that have already been given to them. So there's no reason for you really not to keep
shut your windows,
ventilated. Yes. You know, so what that does is that when your room is well ventilated, if a child even has pneumonia, at least it doesn't go around to all the children. We encourage people to breastfeed the children for as long as possible to help them maintain strong immunity for the child. And something as simple as please wash your hands.
Washing of hands.
As often as possible, yes. So that even if you happen to contact the bacteria, you don't pass it on to the children because you know you're consistently washing your hands. Simple.
And how successful has that been?
What we did was we created a huge awareness, on how, especially for the mothers, how important it was for them to access free medical care from the primary health care centers, which the government has so far been able to do over 500 and something healthcare centers and what we call little village clinics all over the state. So we encourage them as much as possible to go into these clinics, go into these primary healthcare centers, and you know, once you see anything going on with your child that you don't really understand,
head to the center.
Yes, just head to the center. You know. So we've created that awareness. We've also we've created the awareness that the child does not have to die because you know he or she has pneumonia, and we've also created the awareness that it's treatable.
Okay.
It's preventable and treatable. And so you see mothers rushing to the hospital more often and saying, oh, I think my child has pneumonia. So you know, they become predicting of what the child has. But that's better than just staying at home and saying, no, it's a fever, it will be okay. Just give him the leaf, or those leaves. No, now it might be pneumonia. I need to get him or her to the hospital. So that did that. And then one of the things I found out again was that pneumonia, there's actually a vaccine that can prevent a child from having pneumonia.
Really?
And that was really exciting. So I said, okay, great. So why don't we, start raising funds to see if we can, to get the vaccines for kids. Again, in Cross River State, because of our free healthcare, we have a strong database on the number of children between the ages of 0 to 5 years in Cross River State. And I said to myself, okay, if the database had over 400 and something thousand children, so I said, okay, good. So I'm going to try and see if I can get vaccinations for these kids. But the cost of the vaccination, my goodness, it became, I mean, like, how you can just see your dream just
fading away.
Yes, it was, and I said, okay, what am I going to do? I tried to raise funds. The first costing I got was over 70-something million just to get 1,000 children immunized against pneumonia. So we tried to raise funds. It didn't work for the vaccine. I think I worked so hard at it that Pfizer felt sorry for me. And last year, November 8, 2011,
yes.
They worked with me and we were able to give 1,000 vaccinations to 1,000 children who we have their
on the database.
Yes. And the World Health Organization was here, UNICEF was here, everybody. It was a thing that we did in partnership with all of them. But we did get the vaccination out. It was really like the biggest pneumonia vaccination event that had taken place in Nigeria. We were excited to do that because at least we know that we're giving those 1,000 children an opportunity to survive.
Yes.
But then what happens to the other 430-something thousand
that
children who couldn't get it? Again, one of the things that our advocacy helped us to do was to be able to get a budget. So the state now has a budget for pneumonia vaccination. Not vaccination, but for pneumonia intervention, which it never had before.
Okay.
Now, because it's such a huge, humongous project to vaccinate each child, it's more important for us to do a simple thing now, as just to teach the mothers how to prevent
it
from
happening.
Yes. And how to access treatment for it, since the government's already spending so much money on free medical care for children.
Yes.
And so for us, it's a step forward because we have actually been able to get government to notice and legislate to a certain extent on it. And so for us, it's a success story. And so there we are. Almost every year now we have we commemorate the World Pneumonia Day, and we use that. What we do with the local government chairpersons is that we get each and every one to at least do an advocacy in their local government while we focus on one local government for the year and celebrate.
Okay.
And it's been a great program so far. We've had a lot of support from people because the numbers are staggering and quite scary.
Okay, we'll take our first break now. When we come back, we'll talk about whether or not the free healthcare program in Cross River State includes drugs and medication as well. Right? So join us again after the break.
Who knows abi better thing? Abi who no like better thing? All these fine things wey dey see so. Na money government dey take do am now. Abi, it's like, excuse me, I dey pay my tax. I dey do wetin? I dey pay my tax. Say you don't pay your own tax. Have you pay your tax?
Pay your tax. It's your civic responsibility. It's your duty. It's the law.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching 60 Minutes with me, Angela Ajitomobi, and I'm spending it today with the wife of the Governor and Chief Executive of Cross River State, Obioma Imoke. Now, before we went on the break, we're talking about the free health care in Cross River State. A lot of the states where they say they're doing free health care, consultation will be free, but the treatment, the drugs, the medication is never free. What's the situation in Cross River State?
Well, in Cross River State, I don't know about any other state, but I can speak to the best of my knowledge about Cross River State. It's a holistic approach. It's everything. Okay. With regards to the health of a child at 0 to 5 years. Okay. And if you look at our statistics, we have actually, Cross River State has actually achieved a zero maternal and mortality rate from childbirth in one local government.
Really?
Yes. Zero from childbirth. Deaths from childbirth.
Wow.
Has been achieved, maternal and infant. The child may die of something else, but not from childbirth. Right. Now, if the government was not looking at a holistic approach in its entirety, where, okay, we're going to do the consult, but you pay for your medication, they would never have been able to achieve that.
So that means that surgeries are included?
Surgeries, even if you have a CS, it's included. Everything, as long as you fall within that. this thing. So what the government has done in Cross River State is that they've started from one local government and they've seen that it can work.
Yes.
And at this point in time, the program has been moved to 6 other local governments because the pilot program worked. And so they're using that same template to go. And, you know, by the grace of God, we should be able to reach the 18 local governments before the end of my husband's tenure.
Okay. Now, International Women's Day 2012, I'm told, was especially instructive here in Calabar because this year a law was signed in to place against maltreatment of widows. Did you have anything to do with that?
I must say that the law was not signed in this year.
Okay.
But widows didn't know, or women didn't know, that this law was in existence.
It was always there.
It's been there, yes. It's been there. And so, you know, you find people losing their husbands and, you know, being maltreated, and being maltreated and all whatnot. So I'm like, well, what is going on? There's a law that doesn't allow this to happen. Why are we letting this happen? You know? And so, because, you know, obviously when they came to complain to me that this was happening, I was like, oh, so how come we're not able to protect these children? And, you know, I went to the House of Assembly. I said, listen, we have to do something. So the House of Assembly said, no, we have something for to protect the rights of widows. And I said, let me see. And I'm like, this exists? So I'm like, I'm telling the widows, you know, they are president, there's a law, did you know? They said, no, they never knew. And so, again, in a bid to complement what government is doing, we thought it was important that we shared the knowledge with the women and got them to understand that government is on their side.
Yes.
And that if anybody tries to disinherit you of your property that you shared with your husband when he was alive, it was illegal, and you could have legal redress.
Yes.
Again, the first thing that scares them is how much is it going to be.
Yes.
Now that's where we come in, because we try and partner them with organizations that can provide pro bono services to them. One of the biggest things that we're looking to do is a class action that is getting all the women who have been disinherited of their properties and doing a general case and having each of them restored back to their properties.
Yes.
But there are some peculiarities in Nigeria, like, you know, polygamy, when there are more than one wife. Well, but we'll deal with that when it comes. But at least the ones that are easier to deal with are ones that we're looking at to deal with. My husband has this thing for people that he thinks need help.
Yes.
He, you know, more than others. And he especially identified widows and said to me during the campaigns that he would like me to specifically find out from groups of widows, because they're all in groups, very nicely put together in group where they go and have their meetings and all that. And just find out from them what is it that they really like to see from government, to have government do for them and all that. And I did that across the local governments, and we just found out that they're just regular women who need assistance with trade, who need to send their children to school, who need to beef up their self-esteem, because, you know, there's the case of stigmatization in certain places because you're a widow.
You must have killed the man.
You must have killed the man. All of a sudden, you're a target for, you know, all sorts of abuses and all whatnot. You may not be able to afford to look after the home because you were never really a partner, a financial partner in the home. Those sort of things, you know, that you would expect to be their problems. And so we decided to look closer.
Why widows? Why did he, you know, did he have any personal experiences knowing growing up as a child? Maybe he knew a widow who had been ostracized?
No. I find out that when I'm dealing with my husband, he's one of those people, like I said, that looks out for the downtrodden, looks out for those who you would never hear their voices because they don't have an opportunity. They don't have anyone to speak up. They don't have anybody to speak up for them. So he's always thinking about such people. So he came up with this idea of widows that come. Who's actually doing anything for them? What is it that they need? How come we never hear anything about them and all that? And that was what really had nothing to do with a personal experience.
Okay. How do you get the widows who will participate in any program? I mean, I'm just trying to think. Do you sneak around finding out whose husband has died?
No. Like I
approach
said,
them?
they all belong to associations.
Okay. Okay.
They have in
groups.
each local government. So
Yes.
each local government you go to has a widows association.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just something that happens here naturally.
Yes.
And there's always a president of the association, and there's a state president of this. So it's pretty.
They're quite organized.
Organized, yes. Okay. And even in local governments where they are not that organized, all we did was ask the chairperson to please help us to, and it's there's a way information goes around
Yes.
in the rural areas. You send out the information, people just come in and register. We told them
Yes.
when just in case they were not properly organized, that please go to your chairperson and register yourselves. Let us know.
So you actually have a database
yes, we have
of
a
the
database.
widows?
Yes, we have a most recent database from this year concerning the widows in Cross River State.
Okay, that's fantastic. All the programs we've talked about today, that's the pneumonia and now the widows, for the sake of those who are watching in Cross River State, don't know about it, where can they head to? Is the local government office the best place to go to?
Yes, for the program for widows, which we've tagged giving life options to widows.
GLOW.
Yes.
Okay.
If they register with the local government widows association in their local government with the chairpersons, that information will get to us.
Okay.
For the breath of life.
Yes.
Again, if they can reach their local government chairpersons with regards to, needing medical help, they would guide them or direct them to their local primary health care centers where they can receive treatment for those for pneumonia or any of those things. And with regards to education, we just have to keep on reiterating it and telling them regularly that please let your child go to school. Don't take your child to the farm. Don't take your child. Keep your children in school, and it will be better for you in the long run.
In the long run. All right, and now you've talked about children. Let's talk about your work with children. First, street kids in Calabar, Cross River Capital. Who is a street kid?
A street kid is a child that has nowhere to sleep at night.
And you mean there are children like that?
Well, that surprised me also.
They don't have a home,
they don't have a home, and even when they have homes, sometimes the parents don't want them in the homes.
Why wouldn't, I thought about this question. Why wouldn't any parent want a child?
I've seen a few of them, and the reasons range from,
You've spoken with them?
Oh yeah. I've interacted with them in a bid to try and reunite them with their children.
Yes. And
they say things like, no, she's very stubborn, I don't want her in my house.
Just matter of fact, like that.
Yes. And some other ones say, she's not straightforward, she has some spiritual problems.
She's a witch.
Yep.
Okay, so the next question then is witchcraft or witchery, is it peculiar to this area? I'm talking now Cross River, Akwa Ibom. Why is witches or witchcraft such a big thing in this area?
You know what? I think it's an African thing. I mean, I was listening to a comedian, I'm going to crack a joke, and he said that, what is this thing about the white man saying that he's the first person that manufactured the craft? That we've always had craft in Africa, we've always had witchcraft in Africa. But I think it's basically an African thing.
Yes.
But when people can't explain, for the developed world,
yes,
when a child has psychological issues, they're identified as psychological issues, and they create counseling and pathways for the child to be able to deal with those issues. Yes. But for us here, we don't have those opportunities, so we have to look for a reason while the child is acting up, and most of the time we actually...
It's easier to say.
Yes, it's easier. It's simpler, and we don't know any better. So it's easier to say that. I've met many children who are supposed to have these spiritual attributes, and they are really regular, normal, everyday children.
Normal everyday children.
Yes.
We'll take another break because when we come back, I'm looking at it from the point where, you know, sometimes children play up and act up. If you call a child a witch for so long,
He begins to believe, he or she begins to believe.
join us again after the break.
I want to present myself as an African.
And I know, and I know, and I know, and I know. I know what you like. I know, and I know, and I know. I know what you like. Everything you love, baby, you love. Baby, you love. Baby, you love. And I know, 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 and I know. Baby, you like. Baby, you like. Baby, you like. Baby, you like. Baby, you like.
Welcome back. Now, when people say street kids in Calabar, is it that it is peculiar to Cross River State? Street
No,
kid?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. It's just that, you know, in Cross River State, we are a tourist destination.
Okay.
And so one of the things we don't want to see on the streets is street kids hawking on the streets, kids begging for money on the streets, those kind of things.
How have you been able to achieve that, though?
By looking out for them. And, you know, well, this sort of thing.
Yes.
Now, with street kids, if my attention had not been drawn to them, I would have fought anybody who said there were street kids in Calabar. Because you see, what happens is that you don't see them walking around.
Okay.
There are people using them to run errands. There are people using them for child labor.
You mean
There are people-
like there's a system in place?
Oh, yes. Yes. And we know all of them. We know all of them. And you know,
when you say people using them, they send them out?
They send them on errands. They use them for commercial sex. They use them for rituals. They use them to sell drugs, you know. And because there's no control. There's nobody that can say, oh, no, you can't do that.
When you say you know them, has government ever prosecuted people who are caught doing?
Well, when we did the mop up of street children, most of them ran away.
Okay.
We got one who was pretty old. He was living with the HIV/AIDS virus, and what he did was mostly rape the girls and give them food, and that was the payment, give them food. And then before we could do anything, he died anyway.
From AIDS?
Yeah. You know,
of course, he passed it on.
Well, yeah. You know, those are the dangers of living on the streets, because you know, they have to survive, they have to eat, even if it's once a day, and they will do anything to eat because they're hungry. You know. So it's not just a Cross River thing. It's just that for us here,
yes,
if we say that this is a society that is fit for every child, no matter the circumstance of their birth, then there is no reason for a child to be on the street.
No reason.
There is no reason.
So
for a child to be on the street.
if I saw a child hawking on the streets of Calabar, that would be strange.
It would be strange. You may see them after school hours,
okay.
Because, well, you can't really, you know, how many of them are you going to arrest? They have to help their parents, and then they won't tell you where they live anyway, and you can't arrest the kid. It's a kid, you know what I mean? So they won't tell you where, because they're pretty smart.
Yeah.
But if it's after school, you may not even see them after school. But if it's after school hours, we don't see the government come out to, you know, what we call to raid them.
Yes.
But if it is during school hours, yes, they probably will, because they're supposed to be in school.
Okay.
They're not going to put all this in place and then you're not accessing it. No, it doesn't make sense.
All right. Now, let's talk about Destiny's Child Center. I visited there earlier on today. Very innovative work you're doing there. I spoke with the two managers, the project manager and the other guy who was inside helping them with homework, you know, and I was really moved to see those kids, wide range of ages.
Yeah.
What are the challenges that you face at Destiny's Child Center?
Oh, a street child has survived has survived things that you probably would never experience in your life.
That I can't imagine.
No, you can't imagine. You just can't imagine. And so they've had to develop ways of protecting themselves. It's a natural thing. They've had to develop ways of surviving. Sometimes we've had them for like 2 years, and it's after 2 years that they actually tell you the truth about themselves and how the stories they told you before was, quite frankly, just
a story.
Just a story. It doesn't have anything to do with them. By the time they've now started trusting you and they understand that, listen, you're not going anywhere. I'm going to do my best to keep you here. The counselors are here to talk to you. They are here to make sure you're
feeding,
okay. They're
everything.
feeding, and so they begin to develop a trust. Their self-confidence comes back. They don't feel rejected. Then they're ready to tell you the truth. So one of the challenges we have faced is that half of the time you really don't know what is the truth and what is a lie for many months. The children are very raw.
When you say
every
raw,
every vice you
sexually,
can, everything, anything you can possibly think of, they have done it. And also, one of the other things I would say is the capacity to help these children in Nigeria is very low. You know, the real capacity is taking. Maybe if we were in a place where there was more resources, especially, when I say resources, I'm talking about human resources. Maybe it would have taken us less time to rehabilitate them and be able to reintegrate them into society. But we're learning as we progress. You know what I mean? We've had a few partners coming to assist us with capacity building. Like UNICEF, they've been very helpful.
Because I was going to ask you, is it since it was opened 16th of October 2009, is it in partnership with UNICEF, or you're going it alone?
We're going it alone, but UNICEF has been very supportive, especially in capacity building, in providing some infrastructure for us, and the people of Cross River State, and some people who have heard about the program have also been very supportive, donating food stuff, monies, computers, and things like that. We also have some international partners, like a group called Catherine's Wardrobe. They're in America, and they sent us loads of stuff, clothes, toiletries, all sorts of things. For the kids, we have Janet also in America who sends off loads of clothes. We just have people who
helping.
About,
is this intervention? Is it the only intervention in Cross River State for children of that age? If, for instance, a 13-year-old were convicted in a court, would Destiny's Child be like a Boston home where the child could be sent to?
It's very interesting because we had a case like that. The federal government is actually supposed to establish a remand home.
Yes, a remand home
in each state, but there's none. It doesn't exist in Cross River State. But anyway, we have the Destiny's Child Center. So one of these days, the judge finds one of them guilty, and then calls me and says, "Oh, please, can you keep this child here?" I said, "No, my home is not for criminals; it's for children." And she said, "Please, I'm begging you. I don't have anywhere to put the child." And I said, "No problem." And he's doing well with other kids now, and. But it's a one-off. Most of the kids we've actually taken off the streets.
And with the child rights law and all that, how will that enhance your work? Will it make it better?
To be honest with you, it should. Because if we could get the child's right law implemented the way it's written and the way it ought to be, then we wouldn't have parents deciding when and how they want their child to be, and how and when they want to keep a child. We will have to keep the child or face the law. But I think we're too engrossed, we in Destiny's Child Center are too engrossed with just giving the children a new lease of life, trying to make sure that they will mainstream them into regular patterns of normal children. Wake up in the morning,
go to
your chores, go to school, come back, do your homework, That's something they haven't had probably forever.
Yes.
And so we're too busy trying to do that with the little capacity, human capacity we have.
Yes.
That we haven't even been able to really focus on the other aspects.
Yes.
But we've had one or two cases, like we had a case of a child, a 3-year-old who was molested, sexually molested by her dad. That was a bit too much. So we were told about them by FIDA, I think it was.
Yes.
And that case is still in court.
Against the father?
Against the father, yes. There's also another one of an assault on one of the girls, and that is also in court, and the cases are progressing quite good.
Okay.
And we're waiting for a judgment, and once we get a judgment, we will try and ensure that people know that, okay, this is going to happen.
Yes.
We may not be doing it that regularly, but very soon it will take precedence over everything else.
Okay. So how does the reintegration of the street kids work? How do you get them off the streets? Do you arrest them?
Literally.
Literally.
Yes. Literally. And then
Yes.
some of them, I've had kids walk up to me and say, won't you take us?
Just like that?
Yes. And I say, take you, will you stay? The problem is not taking you, it's whether you stay, because some of them can't deal with the discipline. So they
Yes.
run out and start hiding
Again.
around the whole place, or go
Yeah.
find different locations to live in. So they say, yes, we'll stay now. Should we give them food 3 times a day there? And everybody
At least
has
they'll
bed.
get food.
And
And everybody has a bed.
Yes.
That's-
But I wish I could take every single one of them, quite frankly, but I can't, because we don't have the resources to do that.
Yes.
And
How do you fund this? I know you said people donate and all that, because people will be watching now and may want to help. How do we get help across?
quite frankly, we ask for money.
We are
We have
open
fundraisers. Yes,
Yeah.
we have fundraising events yearly, and we put our case on the table and say, okay, this is what we're doing. I don't have a budget in my office, and I'm looking for partners. I'm looking for people that will support us. We've had cases of kids who have actually gone through the process and have been ready to go back into regular society. And 2 of them we placed in the American International School here in Calabar.
Yes.
And we got two people who were willing to take on their school fees.
Wow. And they're doing well.
They're doing well. For their level, they're obviously not at their level. But
Yes.
the school is trying to work with them to bring them up to their level.
the level.
And they're doing okay.
Do they adjust these kids? I'm trying to look at the extreme, from one extreme being on the street to this disciplined environment. Do they embrace it after a while?
Yes. When we first got them off the streets, it was very interesting, because every child had the same thing. We gave everybody the same thing. But within 3 days, everybody was missing something. That means that even though I had everything you had,
Yes.
I would still go into your bag and take
steal something.
Yes, because I felt that was the way to go. And you would put food on their table, and the person would go like that and be eating and looking to make sure nobody. And if
It's
you
a war.
made the mistake of turning your face away, your neighbor just took your meat from your plate and put it in his mouth. And it was so funny. And then of course one big fuckers will start. But they've learned that nobody's taking your food.
Nobody's taking your meat.
Nobody's taking your meat. It is yours. There was even one time they called me for a meeting that they don't like the food that they're eating. I laughed. I said, sorry, no way. So we had to change the cooks, because another thing is also the mindset of the people looking after them. They're not street kids anymore.
Yes.
They're in a home,
Yes.
and it's our responsibility to feed them.
Yes.
So don't think that whatever you give them, they will eat.
Yes.
Wow.
As time goes on, they adapt.
They called me for a minute and said, no, they can't be eating this type of food. They need to, and they had to adjust. The cooks were just being irresponsible about the kind of food they were giving them.
You talked about one of your greatest challenges in this job. You say the twisting, I'm giving you your words now, the twisting of what one is doing as if one is doing something bad is demoralizing. What did you mean by that?
Oh, Angela, I was hoping that we would do this. Quite frankly, Angela, I've gotten to the point where I've decided that I'm really not going to dignify that whole allegation with a response. I think it's a waste of my time.
Okay.
I consider it extremely malicious. I consider it a premeditated attack to probably, smear my name, my family's name, and to rubbish what we're doing here. But I pride myself in what we have done. In looking at saving the lives of children, which is one of my passions, I looked at the problem. What is the problem? We have young girls who get pregnant.
Yes.
And our tradition, it's embarrassing for the family. So they throw their kids out when they have this, when they get pregnant. And then what does the child have to do? The child goes around probably, trying to survive. And then once they have the baby, they trash the baby because you have the cause of me being kicked out from the home.
Yes.
Okay? And so we're picking up babies on the streets.
From dustbins
and trash cans. And you're thinking, what is going on? What is the problem? How can we stop this?
Yes.
Okay, why don't we try and get these children in?
Yes.
Have programs where we can counsel them, teach them, how to manage themselves, help them. As one of the, major things we found out reasons we found out that they don't want to keep those children is because they can't afford to look after themselves, talk less of looking after the children. And all of a sudden the family support is no longer there. So they panic. So we try and bring them, reunite them with their families and walk them through the whole relationship. We also, where the families are not interested, we try and teach them what we call life skills, which means living independently forever.
Yes.
And in doing that, we're hoping that you would be able to go back out there and be able to do something for yourself to help you look
fend
after for yourself and your child.
Yes.
And we try and build up their confidence again. Just tell them that life doesn't end just because you made this mistake. But one of the most important things we tell them is that we will not let you go through this home twice. We believe that going through this home one time should be able to give you enough skills to help you with living your life.
I'm happy you said that because I'm looking at this problem from this angle that if there was a business there was a business in selling babies for adoption, it would be in your interest for every mother to come back 2 or 3 times to have more babies because that's more business.
Right. But there's something that really fascinates me here.
Yes.
Mothers Against Child Abandonment, which is this project in question, doesn't have the right to give babies out for adoption. It is purely the state's business. The state's Ministry of Social Welfare. So if you like, have 300 babies, the only person that can give out that baby for adoption is social welfare.
Not you?
No.
Okay, so it's not that you were there allocating babies to your rich friends.
No, we have people apply.
Yes.
There's no doubt. People apply to the home.
Yes.
But there's a system in place.
Yes.
If you know Cross River State, everything is done.
Due process.
Yes. So
if I come in, I'm 13, I'm pregnant, and I have signed that I will have my baby adopted, up to the point where the baby comes out, can I change my mind?
Of course, anytime. It's for us, ours is to encourage you to take, we have different categories of kids. We have some who are suicidal.
Yes.
We have some who threaten you that they're going to kill the child on the phone, and we say, no, don't kill the child. It's okay. We'll take the child from you. We have some who will just dump the child there and they don't even want to see the child. We have different. So when you come in, you go through 3 various steps where we kind of assess you and find out where you are at. Again, these children come in with a lot of lies. Because you don't know what has happened in their past. Sometimes you find out last minute that everything they've told you has been a lie so far because they're trying to survive.
Yes.
And this is a new thing to them. Being pregnant, being responsible, they don't want that responsibility. They're barely children themselves.
Yes.
14-year-old, 13-year-old, coming into the home with a pregnancy. What does she do with that pregnancy? So there's a lot of counseling. We do psychological, we do spiritual, we do all sorts of things. Okay, but very primarily on our list is please take your baby and go. We don't charge anybody any money. We are not the Ministry of Social Welfare, so how do we make you pay us money? We do have people my people who know me would say, oh, I understand that you guys have kids to give up. How do we go about it? Oh, apply to the Ministry of Social Welfare.
Nothing to do with you.
One of the things that gets you, approved is the fact that somebody can actually recommend. Yes, I know this family. Yes. They are responsible and they're good enough. You go do your inspections, but I can guarantee that they would be able to look after this child. Why? Because the welfare of the child is the most important thing. So if I know someone that can look after a child, and I approve, I recommend the person to the Ministry of Social Welfare, and the ministry does their investigation
step by step
and find out that the person can. Why would they not give the child to the person? I never knew that being rich could stop you from adopting a child.
Okay, let me ask you this. What if, can I, at the point I'm changing my mind, will I have to pay for all the food and everything you guys had given me for 4 months?
Right. Okay, where would they get the money to pay for? They didn't even have money to feed themselves, clothe themselves, get medical treatment. So where are they supposed to be? We've had people take their babies away now. We've had people take their babies away, and I think the problem is that people don't understand that it's a joy. That I do it as a hobby. It's a joy for me to see a young girl succeed. For me, that's a success story. That this girl went with their kids, their baby, and they're doing well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we have some who have called us say, oh, that they heard that there's a job available. We've placed some as nannies in homes.
As well?
Yes.
Okay, now as an aside, is it possible that deals are happening in this adoption thing or at the Destiny's Child home that you don't know about? Deals are happening behind your back?
We don't adopt children.
Nothing to do with you. It's the Ministry of
Social Welfare that does. No. So where is the deal happening? In what? In delivering the child or in... So I can't understand it. Where is the deal happening?
You have absolutely no interest in it.
I'd rather everybody... My own obsession here is please don't trash children. 2, please don't go and die from having child when it's not necessary.
And please don't kill the child.
And please don't kill the child. We pride ourselves in saying that since this intervention started, we have not had one single mother who died from childbirth and a single child that died at childbirth. We haven't. And for us, that is the success of the program.
I want to thank you very much, Mrs. Imoke, for coming on 60 Minutes. Well, that's 60 Minutes with me with this week. Don't forget to like 60 Minutes with Angela on Facebook. Alternatively, you can follow me on Twitter, Angela at 60 Minutes. Join me next week, same time, same day, same station. You never know who I'll be spending 60 Minutes with. I'm Angela Ajitumobi, and I thank you for the pleasure of your company.